Next on the programme tonight, when you hear stories on the American news of alien abductions and you hear Americans being interviewed saying that they were taken from their homes at night and brought up in spaceships to be examined by aliens, you think, how come that never happens in Ireland? Well, apparently it does. The UFO Society of Ireland claim that 8 Irish people, 5 male and 3 female, have come forward recently and admitted that they were victims of alien abduction. And I'm joined on the line by Carl Nally, who is the president of the UFO Society of Ireland. And he's going to explain to us about alien abductions. Carl, good evening to you.
Good evening, Adrian.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Carl. Now, alien abductions. When I think of that, I think of weirdos. I think of people who can't possibly, who dreamt it, who are making it up. Tell me about these people who believe that they were abducted by aliens. Let me focus, Carl, on the Irish people. Give me an example of what one of them described to you. And was it painful? Did it hurt them? Were they taken off this planet and into a spaceship? Were they visited by aliens in their bedroom? What exactly happened?
What happens is this. For example, they'd be in bed at night time. They'd wake up. There'd be a bright light in the room. They find that they can't move their body, only their eyes. There's a sense of a presence in the room. Then they see tiny beings in the room, and inside they have they're hysterical with fear. Then, with the beings, move them up a beam to a ship, and then they have missing time. In this ship, they are brought into this bright room, which is very clinical looking. There's a table or tables in the room, and everything is rounded. There's no sharp edges. More tiny beings are there. There's one there that you feel that is kind of in charge. He's taller than the other ones. There's a huge fear in them of thinking what next is going to happen. Obviously, this leader or person in charge has huge slanted black eyes. He comes over and he looks into their eyes and has telepathic communication.
Okay, so he doesn't even need to talk to them.
No.
Okay, and he's able to communicate with them without any words being spoken.
Not verbally, no.
Okay, and what is he trying to achieve? What's he trying to find out? What sorts of questions do the people get asked?
Okay, what happens is this: they don't get asked anything. They're introduced to medical experiments, and various samples are taken from them. Now, this is the same the world over.
And this is the same story that these 8 Irish people claiming to have been abducted have told you? The exact same story?
Very, very, very similar. What happens, samples are taken of nails and hair and also sperm and ova. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And do they get hurt?
Yes, some of them are very, very painful.
And do they have any physical signs of this pain?
Yes, I'm coming back to that now in one sec. Also, with that, it appears that there's huge amounts of information in kind of hieroglyphics, like writing. They take into some level of consciousness. And they find that this information is given to them especially to help mankind at the appropriate time, which they feel is very soon. Okay,
now why are these 8 people, let's say here in Ireland, why these 8 and not me or you or most people listening to us?
That's the $64 question, isn't it?
Alan, you're on FM104. How are you, Alan?
How are you, Adrian? I was
going to ask you your opinion on this, but you've just given it to me.
I just want to know what happened. Can you repeat again what happened after the bright light came on in the room?
Are you still there, Carl?
Yes.
After the white light comes on in the room, what happens?
Well, basically, what happens is this: when they wake up in bed, and there's a bright light in the room, they find that they can't move. There's a sense.
Oh, sorry, Alan's after getting cut off. Yes, go on, Carl.
They find that there's a sense of a presence in the room. They see tiny beings. As I said, inside they're really hysterical with fear, and then they're moved up a beam into a ship, and they experience missing time. Then,
Ray, you're on FM104. How are you, Ray?
How's it going, Adrian?
Now, Ray, you actually do believe that abductions are possible?
Yeah, well, I haven't been abducted myself, so I can't speak for that. But I've seen like things that aren't airplanes. They're too high to be airplanes, and they're too fast, and like they're like stars, if you know what I mean. But the speed they're moving and the directions, how they change directions so fast, it's just unbelievable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was one instance where I was out at a party one time at a house, and we went out the back for a cigarette, and we were all about 3 or 4 of us lying on a trampoline. And it was a real clear night, you could see all the stars. And with that, we could see these 2 stars kind of, not too far apart, but moving together. And we didn't know whether it was an aeroplane, but it was way too high, like. With that, then, they stopped, and one shot off in one direction, and one kind of moved at the same pace it was moving. It was just kind of weird. And then I've seen it a few other times then when I was out the back with my girlfriend having a smoke, and you could see just the same thing really, just things moving straight across the sky. But at a speed that just couldn't be an aeroplane and too high to be an aeroplane, you know.
And I've heard many, obviously doing a show like we do and the time of night that we do our show, we've over the years gotten many reports like this of different sightings, some of which is a load of rubbish, others of which haven't been explained and have never been. In fact, one time we did a whole feature on a piece about green lights in the sky in Dublin. It even made it into the newspapers. I personally don't believe it. I personally don't believe it, but that's only my own opinion. But you believe that there is stuff that we can't. There is stuff that we can't explain. But I mean, are there spaceships flying over Dublin and taking people up for a bit of experimentation?
Well, that's our word against theirs, isn't it? It's just someone's experience. They're trying to speak. I don't know whether it's true or not. That's their own thing. You know what I mean? I just open-minded to the situation. Like from what I've seen, I can only speak for that.
Okay, so you've an open mind on it.
Yeah.
Now, Carl, you say you've been contacted by 5 men and 3 women from Ireland who have been abducted by aliens, yeah?
That's correct.
I think I might have number 9 for you here. Bernie, good evening to you.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Bernie. Now tell me your story.
I know it sounds crazy. It does, because if somebody told me this story, I'd believe they were crazy too. But I lived in Los Angeles when I was a kid, and that's when I started. To me, I thought it was a dream. I used to wake up and I'd be in a very, very bright room with lots of different instruments in it, and like that, as you put it, aliens. When I came back to Ireland, and the visits still continued. I didn't tell anybody about it for years. I didn't tell my husband about it until recently. When I was pregnant.
And sorry, when you say the visits of what exactly?
Like that. No, I never woke up in the room. I don't remember waking up in my room and being carried out. I remember waking up inside of a very bright room on a big table, and like that there was people. They weren't white, but they were like greyish in colour. Huge big eyes and looking down at me, and like that, not a word was spoken, but I knew what they were telling me. Now, I was only a child when it happened, but they were very interested in me. I was never hurt. Very, very curious creatures, and they would literally stand around and watch. And then I remember just being in my bed after that. But little marks on my hands that would appear. My mother would say, like, what happened to that? And I would remember getting these marks right enough, and I wasn't telling her because I knew she'd send me to a shrink. So when I came back from America, I believe I was implanted with something, and that they followed me here. When I was pregnant on my son, I was taken up, and that was the first time I was ever worried.
Now, okay, so describe this to me. You were pregnant with your son,
yeah,
and you were taken up to where?
I believe it was a spaceship. Well, to me, that's what it seemed like. It wasn't anything I've ever seen on Earth. It wasn't anything I've ever seen in a film. It was very, very bright, unusual instruments, blunt instruments. But
were you scared?
Only when I was pregnant. I was only ever scared when I was pregnant because I had a baby inside, and I was worried something's going to happen to him. And they just reassured me. They could tell me he was a boy. Your little boy is fine. So I knew he was a boy when everyone else said, oh, you're having another girl. And I was like, I'm not having a boy. I knew it was. And when he was born, he's still quite a normal child, but he has a really strong interest in science, and he's very artistic. He draws some really unusual things, and I would say to him, God, that's amazing. Like, where did you get home with the idea of that? And he comes out with the weirdest things and says, I just remembered it. And I'd say, from what? And he'll say, I don't know, I just remember it. And they're funny shapes that they join together to create a bigger picture, and he can't understand it, but I know when he's looking at it, he knows it means something. He doesn't know what it means. So I've listened to that other chap there saying that they send these other people messages to, maybe these people are going to help Earth in future. I don't know, maybe my son is going...
And when you're after telling me this story now, and you said you only told your husband recently. How did he react when his wife said, darling, I've been abducted by aliens?
He reacted like any other man. He just started laughing and said, go away out, that's yours, mad as your mother. And I said, I really am. And then my sister set him down. She said, no, this is very true. She said, and he said, why didn't you tell me before? And I said, why would I tell you? Sure, you'd think I was nuts anyway. But everyone thinks I'm nuts. I've one or two people that would kind of go...
Now, Carl, obviously this is very similar to the stories you've heard already.
Absolutely, it's definitely no surprise to me exactly what the lady is saying. Bernie, is that her name?
Bernie, yeah.
But I believe my son, after hearing that chap, Carl, after hearing you talking there about saying that they were sending messages to help Earth, I believe maybe my son is one of these messengers. Maybe he's going to grow up to be somebody and that knows a lot of things and discover different things that we don't know.
So you believe your son might be a messenger?
Not that he's... I believe maybe he was given information from the time he was in my womb that he knows. That he knows things. I know it sounds crazy. I'm sure everyone listening to this thinks I am a nut job. I promise you I am not a nut job. I'm a very normal person. I do normal things. My son is very artistic and very creative, has the greatest interest in science. He's one of them kids who hates school. He's not interested in reading. This is boring.
Could it be that you just have extremely vivid dreams?
No, because I would have little marks and bruises and things. Now, like that, the last time I experienced this, I was pregnant on him, but I would have had marks and I would have little bruises on me. The back of my knee gets very sore sometimes, and I know there's a little lump in there. I can feel it, and I often think, is that the implant? And I've seen a guy one night in the Discovery Channel, and he said he was getting these pains in the back of his legs, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor took out this particular, it was like a piece of metal stone, and he sent it off to be examined, and scientists examined it. It was on Discovery, and they said there was nothing on Earth that was the same as the element that was in this. It was undiscovered.
But you've had nothing like that?
I believe maybe there is something like that. I mean, I'm not going to the doctor to say, here, will you take out the lump of metal that's in my leg? It could be implanted.
Well, Carl, what do you make of this story?
I mean, absolutely, word for word. When these abductees come back, they have scars, something like scoop marks on the body. Sometimes they may have nosebleeds due to implants. And this is usually so these aliens can find their location at any time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and we also find that when the abductees actually accept their faith, over time they become more spiritual, psychic, some they become healers, and more concerned about the planet and its consequences, man's ill treatment of it, and they have also past life experiences. So they change really, to totally right-brained. And there's no doubt about it that...
And can you understand why...
These aliens seem to be, a very important part of this, these aliens seem to be communicating information that's held on a level of consciousness which at this point in time is not accessible by the conscious mind. It is for a point in time very, very soon to come when they may be, just like, say, for example, Christ and the 12 apostles. You remember from the Bible, and the 12 apostles got the Holy Ghost, which means they got knowledge, information, how to spread the word of Christianity. They've done a great job. There's over 1 billion Catholics in the world at this point in time. It appears that, and as I talked about earlier, about the Bible and the Mayan Holy Book, Chillen Ballam, where man has been created and destroyed many times in the past. Maybe it's a time now that there is a need for change. And
okay, but the question that I've always wondered, Carl, is I take Bernie's story. You're saying it's similar to the other 9 stories you've heard. How come they haven't just landed and said, here we are, we're here, and either take over the earth or move in amongst us, or what?
I already read a part to you from Professor John Mack, Professor of Psychiatry at Harvard University Medical School. Now, if I may just read it quickly again. A central theme in Paul's material, who was an abductee, is the extreme and unrelenting quality of human destructiveness, which, although based on fear, remains bewildering to the aliens themselves. It appears... Okay,
they can't understand how we're self-imploding, basically.
Over life, and their experiments are, in part, an effort to understand perverse, stubborn ways, as well as a kind of intervention to move us along the path from destruction to creation. That's the reason why. Can you imagine...
Okay, so they're trying to help us.
Yeah, but the thing about it is this. We can't give them anything. You don't understand. We can't give them anything. They don't need anything from us. There's no way are they going to land, for example, in the White House lawn and me you know, the likes of Bush and things like that. You know, war pigs.
Right, they're not here for oil or.
They're here. They've always been here.
They're here to help us, basically.
They've always.
Okay, I want to just bring Alan back in again. Sorry, Alan, you got cut off maybe by the aliens. I'm not quite sure, but something terminated our phone call.
I might have been abducted there, Adrian, but what? Can I just ask that girl a question? Is she sure who the father is? Like maybe the father of the child is Obi-Wan Kenobi or something.
No, I was pregnant.
No? Yoda? It might be Yoda.
I was pregnant. I was pregnant before. I remember them being in that room.
You said you were implanted with something before you were pregnant or something.
Yeah, that's in the back of my leg. When I was a kid, the first time it happened, I remember I used to get twinges in the back of my leg. And
okay. Can I just ask you, are you actually serious, or is this like...
Oh, no, I am very serious. I'm very serious. I know people think I'm nuts because I wouldn't believe me if I was you. Why would I? I'm sure I've no proof. Like, I know it sounds crazy and I sound like one of those crazy Americans, but where
does the abduction come from? I don't understand. Like, there's nothing that happened to you that doesn't sound like a dream. There's nothing that other guy is saying that doesn't sound like stuff that's just read out of a science book.
I do believe what you're saying there, and I totally understand it. Only that I have woken up and I have had marks where I remember things happening. Now,
yeah, bed bugs. It's called bed bugs.
Oh no, God! Oh God, no! They wouldn't.
You ever get bitten by a bed bug?
No, these would be.
You get little lumps at the back of your knees when you.
These would be very clear, round, circular bruises. Now, not where my wrist is, but between my wrist and actually in patterns sometimes. Very, very weird, unusual.
Patterns? What kind of patterns?
To know what the best way to put it would be like star formations, nearly. I'm not saying they're
star formations. Agent, is
you? I'm not saying they're star formations, but that's what they kind of look like, and they're in patterns, very clear, very dark purple.
Right, and you're not seeing a psychiatrist or anything like that.
Actually, if I went to a psychiatrist, God, they'd have you committed. I know it sounds crazy. I know where you're coming from. If I was you,
but it just sounds like a dream. Like it just sounds like a dream. The other fella still there, Adrian? He sounds like he's into this, like one of those Star Trek guys.
Well, he's the head of the UFO Society of Ireland, so he's obviously got an immense interest in it.
Yeah. So what's their agenda in the world? Are they trying to prove that there's aliens?
Is that what you're about, Carl?
You'd be very ignorant to think there wasn't. The universe is enormous. Why would you say that there wasn't? Do you think that we're the only life forms in this whole universe?
No. We haven't got a clue. But the fact is, if anybody's going to come here, why wouldn't they just come here? What's with all the secrecy and everything?
As
Adrian said, why would they appear when you're asleep? Why did they happen to appear when you're asleep in a dark room?
Well, because you're relaxed and you're not hardly going to take you up in the middle of doing your shopping in Tesco, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean?
Why not? If more people see it, then more people would realise, hang on a second.
Yeah, and think of the panic and the fear that would put into people. They're not here to harm us by any means.
How do you know? But how do you know? That's my point. If there's aliens out there, why aren't they here to just take over everything?
They're not looking to take over, they're looking to help.
How do you know that? This is mad.
When I went up there, or wherever the hell I went to,
up there? Why do you think you went up somewhere?
I'd imagine it was up.
Excuse me. Sorry, lad. What's your name?
Alan.
His name is Alan.
Alan, would you ever fuck off and let somebody else go on the phone talk sense? I'm really getting annoyed.
Excuse me? Yeah. Hey, there's no need for that.
Yeah, let somebody else talk some intelligence, please. Go on the phone.
No, you haven't answered any question at all they asked you. All you said is you're head of this astronaut, what is it?
The UFO Society of Ireland.
UFO Society. And you wouldn't exist if you didn't convince people that there might be UFOs or aliens out there. So you're just promoting yourself, basically.
Alan, can I ask, do you believe in God? Alan, do you believe in God?
No, I don't believe in God. What's that got to do with anything?
Do you believe in anything?
No, I don't. I believe we're on Earth and that's it. Deal with it.
No, I think you're very...
And Bernie, can I ask you, have you any proof that you can offer of what you're saying?
Sorry, me?
Yes.
I've no proof. I've my word, that's it. But people can't prove there's a God. We still believe that he's there. I think it's very ignorant of Alan to say there is no aliens, that we are the only life form.
No. Hang on a second. I didn't use the word any aliens. I said they're showing up at night time. They're giving you little peck marks that sound like bed bugs. And you're saying this stuff on the radio, and people are supposed to believe you. I mean, it just sounds like madness.
I didn't ask anyone to believe me. I did.
I can make up any old baloney about I fell out of bed and there was an alien in my dream and he pushed me, so that means...
To do, you definitely could do that. I have better things to be doing. I have children to look after. I thought I would ring and I thought I would stand up for that chap there that was talking to me.
It just sounds like a dream. It just sounds like a dream. That's my point.
Like a dream, but I was there and it was very, very real.
Yeah, it's called a lucid dream. You know what lucid dream is?
Well, okay, Carl, let me put that to you. That all of these stories that we've heard and that you've heard, and we're hearing from Bernie here, and Bernie, I appreciate your honesty in telling us your story, can all be explained by the human brain. That we are capable of dreaming in such a vivid way that it feels real. We've all had a dream like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's two sides to every story. Now, we have two psychologists working with us, and we're well aware of temporal lobe problems, temporal lobe lability, sleep paralysis, etc. We've all, been party to Susan Blackmore and Pershing for years and years and years. The fact of the matter is this, that these people are speaking from the heart, are speaking from the truth. And we find that the high degree of consistency of details reported with emotion is appropriate to the actual experiences. So it's not a situation where there's a dream. And, of course, the absence of psychiatric illness and any other apparent psychological or emotional factors that could account for what is being done is absent in these people. The physical changes and the lesions affecting the bodies of the experiences, which follow no evident psychodynamic pattern also. The association also with UFOs witnessed independently, by the way, by others while the abduction is taking place, which doesn't necessarily mean that the abductee might not themselves see, which has happened on a number of occasions, and also the reports of abductions by children as young as 2 or 3 years of age.
And how does a child of 2 or 3 explain something like that?
Because they tell their mothers and fathers. If you read the first few pages of Conspiracy of Silence, UFOs in Ireland, my book, our book with F and M Butler, you will find a letter from a woman in Santry who had 2 children, and this again is the same modus operandi around the world. That they find that the kids are talking about strange little men flying around the room and wanting them to go with them. The parents have come into the room plenty of times and found the children under the cot, but there's no way a child of 1 year of age could have gone out of the cot. They might have their shoes on the wrong feet. All different things like that they would find. This is very, very strange to come from a child of 1 or 2 years of age.
All right, okay. I want to try and squeeze in as many calls as I can on this. Connor, you're on FM104. How are you, Connor? Hello, Connor. Connor's not there. All right. 6797104 is our telephone number. Do you believe this is a load of bull? Or, Bernie, your argument is, in favour of what you're saying, is we'd be very naive to think we're the only ones in this entire galaxy, and I would agree with that bit.
Yeah.
The bit I don't get is how you were chosen and the 8 other people in Ireland that have come forward were chosen. I
wasn't in Ireland when it happened, and I remember thinking, to me, from space, America, as a kid, I had in my head that America must be so big, and that's why they couldn't see Ireland. And I was actually quite happy when I was moving back from Los Angeles to think that I was going to Ireland and this might happen again, because I was embarrassed that people would laugh and think I was crazy. When I came back and it happened again, I realised then there was obviously something in me that I could be tracked or whatever from the whole planet. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing different about me. I'm not some stunning looking blonde. I am short. I have dark hair. I am by no means stand out from the crowd. I'm very, very normal. And
in all honesty, how does your husband feel about this? Your sister has said, there's something real to this.
Everyone thinks I'm a nut job. My dad loves hearing it. It was actually my dad that, when I heard it on the radio station, he said, quick, listen in, he said, and see what you think. I don't know whether my husband believes me or not. I think he'd have no reason not to. I'm not someone that goes around making up stories all the time.
And as a matter of interest, on these incidents, let's call them, how often do they happen?
Oh, it hasn't happened in years. It hasn't happened since I had my son.
Okay, but before that?
I'd say they happened, let me see, I'd say maybe 3-4 times.
3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
And on each occasion, was it the exact same as in other words, all 4 experiences, were they the same in terms of where you were taken or the sort of experiences that you had?
It would have been literally very, very similar. very, very similar, but I was never hurt. I never experienced any sort of pain in any sort of way. I would wake up sometimes the next morning where my shoulders would be sore, where I would have felt like a pressure, like a clamp on it, so to speak. And I would wake up the next morning, and sometimes I would have bruising, and I suppose it depends on how tight it was. And my mother would say, "What happened to that?" And I used to say, "Oh, my brother hit me with something." And I wasn't telling her because my mother had me straight into a shrink. She was one of these people for doctors, and I would have been left with bruising from it, and it's not something that I just thought up.
Graham, you're on FM104. How are you, Graham?
How are you, Adrian? Well,
Grand, thanks, Graham. You think this is all bull?
that's exactly what I said, except there's a couple of more letters at the end of that.
Go on.
I just think most of these experiences that are being relayed here, that they're taken up, they feel paralysed, they're taken up by a beam of light, they're put on a table, and there's these figures that have big heads and big eyes. That could all be explained by a thing called sleep paralysis, in which someone's body goes asleep, but their mind stays relatively awake, and they can still dream and they can still have nightmares. And the alien figures, they all seem to look the same, but these were drawn up in cartoons throughout the years, and in every sci-fi film that features aliens, they all look like that. All the tables look the same, the aliens, the spaceships look the same. It just seems like it's a nightmare. And I mean, I'm not here to insult anyone. If your man, I think his name is Carl, if that's what he believes, that's more power to him. But I think these sort of things can just be explained by simple little scientific facts.
And okay, Carl, what would you say to that? That this can all be explained by as I said earlier on, the trickery of the human brain.
Yeah. Well, just to go back to what the chap said there a minute ago, when he's talking about these B movies where you see the aliens with the big heads, slanted eyes, etc., the writers and directors got all that information from actual accounts in the first place, so you didn't put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. That happened first. Second thing is we have two psychologists working with us who are very, very aware of temporal lobe problems and also sleep paralysis, where the mind wakes up before the body does, and the characteristics that's associated with that. And that's fair enough, and that's fair comment. And I mean, that's fair comment, and it's good to get people who are sober and can ring in with a balanced argument. That's fine, and that's excellent. The difference is, however, that when people like Bernie and the 8 abductees that we have, not to talk about the hundreds of thousands around the world, are all saying the same thing. And as I say earlier, the high degree of consistency of the details reported are with emotions appropriate to the actual experience. And they're told by apparently reliable observers. And the thing about it is this: they have been checked for any mental problems, and they're not. They're fully organised, sensible human beings that have these experiences. And as Bernie said there, she doesn't want to come on the radio or talk to anybody about it. They've nothing to gain. No one's anything to gain.
Now, Graham, that is a fair point. What has that lady got to gain by telling us this story?
But it's not. No one's coming on to gain anything here. It's just to voice your opinion. If she believes that's her opinion. Second, I don't think sleep paralysis shows up under any mental testing or anything like that. I don't think it's actually something that can be tested for. I think the temporal lobe. I'm not actually sure on how it affects you, but I'm 99% sure that can be tested for. And
Dr. Susan Black.
And let me ask you, Graham, do you believe there are other life forms out there?
I believe there could be, based on the fact that there's so much of the universe not explored, but I don't think that it happens in such a stereotypical fashion that, a beam of light comes down and people are abducted up, experimented on, brought back down, and they have marks on their body. Like, if you were having a nightmare and you were dreaming that certain things were putting probes or something into your skin, surely part of you could actually be making those marks on yourself in your nightmare.
Well, can I answer that question?
You can, indeed.
Indeed. There's a doctor, Dr. Roger Lear, in America. He's a podiatrist, and he has taken implants from alleged abductees, and he has sent them to different labs around the United States, not telling them where they came from or what they are, and they've all checked out to contain meteorite substances that you can't get on Earth. So, as Bernie just said there, and it's very similar to other abductee stories where implants are actually put in so that you can be located at any time. And he has actually removed them from people, from the toes, from the nose, from different parts of the skin, different parts of the body.
Okay, meteorite substances, as in what, a form of silica?
I'm not quite sure. We have the information in our files where it's very kind of scientific, but it can't be found on Earth.
Okay, and can I just make one more point? Now, look, as I said, if that's what you believe, I'm not here to tell you your belief is wrong and my belief is right. That's that's for science to decide and that's for facts to decide. But can I just say that the lady that was on and thinks that because her son is artistic and has an interest in science, that he has something to do with aliens. Sorry, lots of kids have an interest in science and are artistic. I don't think it's right to chalk it up to. No.
Well, Bernie, what would you say to that? Lots of kids are artistic.
I'm not saying, God, I wouldn't even say to my son, here, come here, Jesus, I think you were implanted by the aliens with knowledge. Even his teacher has said it to me in school. His interest in science is huge compared to anything else he does. When it's science time in school, he takes over, he will lead the class. They will let it go his way. He's very, very, very bright.
That's excellent news, though. But as an academic and a future scientist, nothing to do with aliens whatsoever.
Oh no! But his artistic skills as well. He builds things, he creates things, and they're things I've never seen before, and things I think, oh my God, how do you even get that to work like that? He's into all that Technic Lego stuff, and within 20 minutes he can have something going, built and working, and he'll say, I'm sticking a battery in here, and things will work. His art is not drawing something that he's seen in a physical form before. It's things coming out of his head, and it's his art in school has been commended, and he's so creative and he's original. I'm just saying that it, to me, and when I was pregnant on him, and that was the last time I was taken, I think, could he be one? It was only when that chap said it about these people who have been given information and given knowledge that they're not able to understand yet. I was thinking maybe he has knowledge. Not saying he does, but maybe he has knowledge. Maybe he's one of those people that has knowledge, and when he gets older, it will develop and it will turn into something else that he could say.
And you believe that may have something to do with the time when you were abducted while you were pregnant?
I'm just saying it could.
It could have,
maybe he is just a very artistic child. To me, it was just unusual because nobody on either side of our families would have had that gift whatsoever.
All right, let me go to Fergal. You're on FM104. Fergal, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Fergal. Now, what did you want to say on this?
I want to say my dad was down in 2 miles off Killarney, and he had an interference with his nephew. Now, he babies his nephew maybe once, twice a month, called Ushin, and he doesn't believe in any of this sort of thing up until recently, because whenever he babysitted his nephew, he always used to come up and say, I see these things out on the farm, and my dad used to say, it's nothing. But there was one day that it came up and he was saying it, so he went into his room and he was up on the bed, and so he went out in the window, and half of his crops was cut off, and they went out and it wasn't like it wasn't like kind of like a sign, but it was just kind of like a mark, like a pattern kind of left on the crops. Now, he still says to this day that he doesn't believe in it, but it happened, and I believe in it because I was there that day. I've seen.
Okay, so you do believe that there is some truth to this?
I definitely do believe it, 100%. I definitely do believe it. And my dad doesn't believe to this day, but my nephew Gagan definitely did see it that day.
All right, let me just bring in one or two more calls. Let me go to Barry. You're on FM104, Barry. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Grand, thank you, Barry. You obviously believe in this stuff as well.
I believe in it very much myself because I've seen it happening.
What have you seen happen?
Well, I'm from Kilcock, and I was out at my friend's house one day, and I was staying there at night, and we were just inside watching telly or whatever, and sure, next thing we seen all weird lights, and we just thought it was cars, whatever, driving around. So anyway, we went upstairs, looked out, and there was a big flash out the back of the farm, and we didn't know what it was. So we got the flashlights and whatever and just went out because, it might have been someone out there. So I went out and seen what the story was. And we went out and saw, all these little shadows running around the place and didn't know what it was. And all gates opening and weird noises. We didn't know what to do. We were shining the lights around, and so we didn't know what the story was like.
But were you ever abducted?
No, a few cattle went missing, sheep went missing, like just general stuff from the farm went missing, and like we'd leave like stuff out there just to see if it would be taken, and we went out to see if one thing was taken that night. Like we went out to see if it was taken. Went over. Next, when Anthony went over, he went over just to see if it was still there. Next thing, he just got like a knock in his shoulder or a boxing shoulder. Didn't know what it was, and it put him straight to the ground. Anthony would be a big fella, like he won't go down too easy. And I went over to see. I just shined the light straight away, and you can just see this like big yoke, and I don't know. It looked like an alien, and I presume it was because like when they.
Well, you can't think of any other explanation for it.
Like, what do you mean?
You're saying you think it was an alien. Can you not come up with some other explanation as to what it might have been?
No, like there was flashing lights all over the farmyard, all noises, and like when you like after like we didn't know what, like it went quiet for around 5 minutes. Then you said, "Oh," like something taken off, like, and this happened 3 or 4 times, like, and this is in the past month or so.
All right, we must go down to your gaff. And one last call. Connor, you're on FM104.
Yeah, finally I get on there. How are you?
It's Bernie you wanted to talk to, is it?
Well, any of them, I think they're messing with their heads, to be honest with you. They've got a screw loose, Adrian. Total screw loose.
I have to say, from talking to Bernie, she doesn't sound like she's got a screw
sure,
loose.
all these things came from America. It's all bullshit. Messing with her heads. They're turning her heads too much.
The point I brought in was that it didn't just come to Ireland and go, look, there's a little
America started all this nonsense.
I know. I wouldn't believe it.
Don't believe it. It's a load of crap.
If this had not happened to me, I promise you.
We all look out our back window and look at the sky and we see shapes in the stars, for Christ's sake.
I've never seen anything in the sky. I have never seen anything in the sky.
One night now, look at the stars. You'll see, so you make a shape with the stars. That's what it is.
No,
Jesus Christ.
Look, I'm just letting you know. I'm not coming on here.
And by the way, the lump in your leg will want to be seen to. I think it's health problems. I think you have.
No, I can guarantee you, I am in full health. I am a good mother. I look after
I can tell you.
I don't go around screaming for attention. I don't tell anybody this.
And let me ask you, Bernie, would it be helpful to get in touch with Carl and his organisation and talk to other people who've gone through these experiences?
To be honest, it's not something I want to pursue. I don't want to go and make a big deal about this. I don't mind coming on here and talking about it. To be honest with you, my name isn't even Bernie. I wouldn't tell anyone my real name. I would die if anyone was to listen to this radio station and say, oh my God, that's such and such from down the road. I don't want anyone knowing this happens to me. I told my husband, I've told my sisters and my father. They're the only people that I have ever told about this, and of course your listeners, but nobody knows who I really am. It's not something I want to go forward to. If I thought there was some reasonable explanation, if somebody was to come to me and say, this is exactly what happened, your mind done this, and you lay on your hairbrush and it made all these bruises, and everything made sense, I would gladly be relieved and think, thank God, I am not losing my mind. I haven't told my children about this. I would be afraid that they would have me committed as I'm an old woman for thinking my mother is a whack job. I want them knowing that they have security with their mother, not that their mother is some kind of ditzy dope who goes around making up stories and has all this craziness. I don't want this to happen to me. I have never asked for this.
But you still maintain that it did?
I know it did. I know. I wish it didn't. I wish I wasn't the person that was on the phone telling you this story now. I wish I was like everyone else and these things never happened and I could sit back and laugh at this radio station and say, oh my God, those people are so crazy. I wish I could be like that. And it's horrible carrying this thing inside of me. It is horrible. And even to have to sit and tell my husband this and see on his face that he's looking at me and I know he's thinking, sweet love of God, because if this didn't happen to me and he told me that, I would be laughing my ass off at him and I would think, oh my God, where is he going with this? He is so imaginative. I wish that this didn't happen to me. It's not something I wanted to happen, and it's horrible knowing that I feel different to other people, and I wouldn't tell people this, for I know I will be judged for it the way I'm being judged right now.
Bernie, it's been fascinating talking to you.
Thanks very much.
And if something like that does happen to you again, do you think you'll talk about it again?
No, not in a million years. Well, people would think I was crazy and I was nuts, and I don't want people thinking I'm crazy and I'm not.
Anyway, thank you for talking to us, Bernie.
Okay, thank you.
And Carl Nally from the UFO Society, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. If people are interested in this subject, Carl, how do they get in touch with your organisation?
Thanks, I was just going to say that. I just want to say, Bernie, whatever your real name is, you're very sweet. And if you ever do want to contact us in relation to your experience, because you're not alone, I'm going to give Adrian our contact details now, which is UPRI 98 at gmail.com.
UP98.
UPRI.
Yep.
98.
98.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Yes, indeed.
All right, there you go. UPRI98 at gmail.com if you want to get in touch with the UFO Society of Ireland. Thanks very much indeed, Carl, and thank you very much indeed, Bernie. This has been fascinating.